Did they make
No,
contact?
I don't know. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Right Look there. At this.
Moves him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again. The bump and run.
There it is.
And Maine really turned around, meant to Reilly's cage up.
Yeah, welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael D.Y., joined by my two best friends, Matt the Statman Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had yourselves a Austin Dillon type of weekend. He was the big winner down in Daytona. And we got Nascar news coming up on this show. Of course, our race reviews. You don't want to miss that. Our checkers and wreckers. And we're doing a little playoff bracket. We're gonna see who makes it to the round of 4 and who makes it to out of the championship race. But first, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, do whatever you're gonna do. Video available every Tuesday morning on YouTube, 6 a.m. and then everywhere the audio is available Monday night, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, iTunes Music, all that stuff. Bump and Run pod.com, bump the letter and run pod.com. Follow us on Twitter, same deal, bump and run pod. Fellas, how's your weekend? I know me and Matt sat through lots and lots of rain delays. Eric, you were out in somewhere you don't want to get rain. You were in like a dried out old dam, right?
Yeah, I was out at the Austin Dam. It's out near like Wellsboro, the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. It's about 4-hour drive to the west from where we're at here. Yeah, it's an old. What's that?
Is that how far that is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that far.
That far away.
Yeah.
I always assumed it was like, I don't know, 2 hours. I figured it was out like by Penn State somewhere.
No, it's above Penn State, kind of like it's.
But up in
it's in the middle of nowhere, dude. Yeah. So like, when I tell you like the stars and like you're like you are in the middle of those are some hard deep woods out there, and it's about 3.5 technically, like if you put it in your GPS. Yeah. But you know, when you're towing and you're in a convoy, you got to stop to go to the bathroom once or twice on the way. So yeah, it roughly turns out to be about 4-hour ride.
Did you spray your deep woods?
Oops, sorry, Whitey.
That's all right. It was just a bad joke. Did you spray your deep woods all over you? Because you're in the deep woods.
Oh, dude, it's
stupid.
I'll tell you what. Not one tick did I see. Because my girlfriend, to be honest with you, that is like her biggest fear. Like she loves camping, loves doing stuff like that, but constantly looking down. Oh, is there a tick there? Give me the bug spray. Give me that.
Yeah, I got to make sure.
Surprisingly, it was well taken care of. It is in a state park. So I think they do go down there and treat those campsites and make sure that, knowing that there's going to be a big music festival too, I think they had that all taken care of. Great weather. It was hot. The creek running through there, obviously it was a dam, saved our ass all weekend long going in there, getting a little bath, get a little, bar of soap, go down in the creek, wash up a little bit, get those barnacles all off from the couple days before, walking around in the sand. Yeah.
What are you shipping a yard?
But I'll tell you what, I don't know. I think she sent it to you guys. I was all prepared to miss this race. I was going dark from, Saturday afternoon on, and I was going to watch the race on Sunday. And I had a little bit of good news in my ear when I heard that it was going to be rain delayed and moved to Sunday. And I'll tell you what, I was overjoyed. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, yes, like something, the universe is with me here. I'm going to be able to watch the race tomorrow. Yeah. And then again, NASCAR does the most unthinkable thing in the world, and they have it at 10 a.m. start.
I tell you what,
time to actually go back to an early start when it's on a rain delay. It's the time when I'm away, and I'm going to be home at around 3:00. Yeah. No, they have to start the race at 10 a.m. We bitched for how many weeks whenever they went to, Monday, it's at 2:00 start. Oh, what are you doing? Make it earlier. Make it earlier. Well, you know what? They finally did, and I had to listen to it in my truck on the way home on Sirius XM, but I haven't done that in quite a while, boys. No. And
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
Dana never experienced that. My girlfriend either. So it's like, okay, here we go. We packed up the camper, got on the road. We're like, we're in for the whole race on the radio here.
It's you,
And
Dave Moody, and Mike
obviously-
Bangley, you know?
Obviously the rain and everything. So most of the back end of the drive was rain delay coverage stuff. But that was excellent as well. It's been a while since I heard some of those voices doing a race and going down a pit road and on that side of it. I will admit, I think because it was Daytona, and this might have been the only Daytona race I heard, the boys were a little sloppy. Getting a little names wrong, calling it, mixing a couple here and there, but everything was happening so fast. Even on the radio, you could tell that they were just trying to get everything right. It was such a fast-moving race with the weather impending and everything. It was enjoyable to even listen to on the radio. Is the short story I'm trying to take the long way around to.
Yeah, those MRN boys. So it's Moody, it's Mike Bagley, it's Alex Hayden, it's who's it? Is Posty part of
Postman's
MRN?
on pit road, yeah.
Yeah, Postman's on pit road, and then it's Striegel, Jeff Striegel.
Jeff
up in the booth
Striegel,
with
he's
Alex
great.
Hayden.
Yeah.
And those guys, if you have never listened to a race through MRN when they call a race, do yourself a favor and go do it. It's phenomenal. They paint such a great picture. I haven't done it in a while either, Eric. I'm usually, just watching it on the TV broadcast.
Yeah,
but
a couple years ago, I had to travel like every couple of weeks. I was in a long distance relationship down in Philly, about 2 hours. So on my way home those weekends, more likely than not, I'm listening to the race on the way home. And I actually got to a point where I was really enjoying listening to them. And like, it was like, I didn't mind not watching the race because I'm very good at painting a picture in my head. Being such a fan, like even this past Sunday on the way home, like they're talking about, going into turn one. Like I've been at Daytona for, 10 years. So it's like, I am able to literally, I'm trying to drive, but I'm also envisioning the cars in my head.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a cool thing to have to do. And it's a good, it's good for your brain.
I do it a lot. I listen to them. I should rephrase. It's been a long time since I've listened to a cup race get called. As we've all talked about, Saturdays are all three of us, I think, are busy days as far as running around, getting stuff done. So I do listen to a lot of Xfinity races in my truck. While
me too.
Done, and it's just as good with that MRN crew. Not to take anything away from the PRN crew. I'm very partial to the MRN crew.
Yeah, as you guys know, I'm always late every Sunday too. So I take in the whole MRN pre-race show in my car, doing whatever we're doing, and they do a great pre-race, and you're right, they paint a great picture. Little tip that I figured out this weekend, because I was sick. I'm watching on the NBC app, and even when they go side by side, sometimes they'll throw app ads on top, so you don't get to see it. I discovered if you have the NASCAR app, which I pay for to listen to the scanner every week, you could get the MRN broadcast on the scanner, right? And then they have battle cameras that you can watch. You can watch in-car cameras, and you can watch just the helicopter cam, and you can watch battle cams. And I realized that the battle cam links up with the MRN broadcast very, very well. It was an enjoyable way how to watch in between the race, in between commercials and stuff. It was actually really great. And I got that MRN feel that you were getting watching too. So if anyone doesn't want to pay for cable, but you want to pay $6 for the app, you can listen to the MRN crew and watch the battle cam all race long. I might try it this weekend at Darlington just for the whole race, just to see how it goes,
Yeah, I might try that as well. I have that app, Whitey, because I like the scanners as well. It's certain racetracks. It's really, really beneficial. Like at Daytona, you could hear spotter clear. There's a lot going on the radios. So I might have to take that little pro tip there and use it this weekend.
I'm probably gonna do it when we get back to Fox in the beginning of next year.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea.
I enjoy the NBC broadcast. I'm actually going to get into the NBC broadcast, something they did later on in the show. But I enjoy that NBC broadcast so much where I need to listen to them and watch them. But definitely next year, the first half of the year with Fox, I'm definitely trying that because you sent us a snippet of you doing that, and it looked really cool.
Yeah.
And again, because the MRN crew was calling it, it made me actually want to try that myself. So
the
it's a nice little NASCAR life hack.
The MRN radio is about a half a second quicker than the battle cam, but for the most part, it all matches up perfectly. You don't even notice. Something that I love also, though, transition is NASCAR news. Let's jump into it. Because we got a lot to talk about this episode, especially in the news. Kurt Busch, as you know, if you watched the broadcast this past weekend, gave up his playoff waiver before the race at Daytona, so he will not run for a championship. He opens up that extra playoff spot going into Daytona. Of course, it was taken by Austin Dillon, and Ryan Blaney got his way in. He'll also miss Darlington this week, and I'm assuming, I don't know, I don't want to speculate, but do you think we saw a career-ending injury at Pocono? I mean, there's been a lot of speculation how long it's been taking him to get back. Someone pointed out on Twitter how long it took Junior to get back from his concussion, and it was a good couple months. Do you? I mean, I don't even want to speculate, but do you think he comes back at all?
I'd hate to speculate too. What I will say though is that year that Junior was out, Eric and I were going to a few races that year, and I just remember specifically the Bristol race. I think it was right before the Bristol races when he decided he wasn't coming back, or that he was out. Because remember, I was all pissed off. I was like, my God, we're going to Bristol, and I don't even get to see Junior race. Right.
Yeah,
that was sad. So I mean, I feel for Kurt Busch fans. I hope he's getting better. I'm assuming he is getting better. It's probably really, really tough for him to be skipping all these races. It can't be an easy call, but
I don't know how tough it is because I heard an interesting thing actually on the MRN broadcast. Kurt Busch is in the war room for every single race. You know, he's still involved. So I feel like that makes it a little bit easier. At least you have a role with the team still, you know?
Did you notice that Denny said, I don't know if he let news slip or if this is something that I just missed, but they asked Denny about how it's all going, and he said, "Oh yeah, Kurt's going to be in our war room. That's going to be what he's doing down the road anyway. So this is a good practice for him." So I'm assuming 2311 is going to have some sort of advisory role for him once he does step out of the car.
Well, I know when they made that Tyler Reddick announcement, Denny said Kurt has a job in the car as long as he wants, and then he has a job with the organization afterwards, regardless. Okay. I know they were speculating, probably simulator work, like he was going to do.
Shake down a car, pretty much. Shake down a setup,
stuff like that. But I'm sure there's tons of different stuff that Kurt could do. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge and a champion of the sport. So, I mean, maybe someday he'll be filling in as a crew chief role or something. You never know. You lose a couple lug nuts 2 weeks in a row, and you start scrambling for crew members. You know what I mean? But yeah, at least he's still involved in the 45 team. He's been going over with Ty Gibbs, trying to help him improve. And I got to give a quick shout out to Ty Gibbs. He wrecked during the race, but he stuck in it. He kept making laps, and he ended up finishing, I think, 2 laps down. But he still finished 13th. Yeah, 13th. So great run for Ty Gibbs down in Daytona, sticking it out and running a real rough car. We'll get into that rough ending in a little bit. But speaking of stepping down, Greg Ives is stepping down as crew chief of the 48 next season. Apparently, he's also going to have a role still at Hendrick Motorsports. I heard an interview with him today on the morning drive on Sirius XM Channel 90 NASCAR Radio. And he said him and, Chad Knaus. I always blank on Chad's name for some reason. Him and Chad Knaus have been talking about a plan for a while now because he wants to get off the road, spend some time with his family. His kids are in the teenage years and stuff. He wants to see some high school football games and everything. So it sounds like he's going to be more of a competition role guy over at Hendrick. So he's still in the folds, but stepping down as the crew chief of the 48. No word on who's going to be Alex Bowman's crew chief next season. What do you guys think about Greg stepping down? He's had I think a 19-year career.
Well,
That's crazy.
I
I
think
didn't know. Go ahead.
just like Roddy Childers with Harvick over there, I think all of these crew chiefs that have been around for, like you just said, that 20+ year mark, I think they're all done just like the drivers have been in the last 20 years. They worked right along with the drivers, and they go through their era with the driver. And when the drivers tend to retire, I could see them as well, because not only, you see the driver changes over years, and your skill diminishes. And, I think as a crew chief, Roddy Childers has stated that it's getting harder for his brain at the age that he's getting now to really fully commit to a new car, and to really fully commit on figuring out how to make the car faster. And it's not there anymore. He's not as quick with things. He's not, the ideas aren't coming as fast. So I could see that same thing with Greg Ives being around as long as he has. You just get burnt out. And now it's basically like, imagine if someone's like, okay, you have to go back to school right now again and learn all. It's like, I don't want to do that now, you know? And I think that's the feeling that these crew chiefs have with this new car is, I don't want to have to go and learn all this all over again. And I had this big notebook full of shit that I had over the last 20 years that was literally like my lifesaver and all of my wealth of knowledge. And, they just don't want to have to start a new one of those. So the new era of drivers are coming in to the sport. And I think we're going to see a new era of young crew chiefs making their name and pairing up with these young drivers that are now coming into NASCAR and making a name for themselves as well.
Yeah, I think you make some great points with the new car and just the learning curve and everything, especially as they age. But speaking of retiring drivers, psych, Eric Almirola not going to be. He signed a multi-year deal with Stewart-Haas Racing, which is the exact opposite of what happened at the beginning of the season. So
he wanted to hang out with his kids more often too until he got paid.
Oh yeah, Smithfield dropped a big old bag of money on his lap, and apparently his kids are pretty pumped about it too, because all their friends are at the racetrack too. So good for Eric Almirola. He signed a fat contract again. Another guy signed a nice contract, Daniel Suarez, although this one's just a 1-year extension at Trackhouse. What do you guys think about Daniel Suarez and just the 1-year deal? Especially since we've been hearing so many guys getting multi-year deals over the last couple of weeks. Do you think that's a good move for Daniel, bad move for Daniel, or like a win-win for Trackhouse?
I don't know the ins and outs of it. I would assume he only got that 1 year. Maybe, that's probably more likely than not sponsor related if they don't have something long-term.
Yeah.
I'm sure Pitbull and Justin Marks, mainly Justin Marks than Pitbull, but I'm sure they want to sign him long-term. He's been phenomenal for those guys. He's got his win. He's been really, really consistently running in the top 10 almost everywhere we go. So he's got the talent and everything. I'm assuming that short-term deal has something to do with sponsorship more than anything else.
Yeah, I think just like Eric Jones, how they extend him that 1 year, we'll sign you here, we'll see what's going on. And it's almost, the way I look at it is we'll sign you for that 1 year. We'll lock you in for that. And that's just like the year where they're going to work to get him sponsorship, work to promote him for the work that he put in this year. So I'm sure they'll go around and say, look at what he did this year. Wasn't expected, but, look at our program. And they'll really market him throughout this next year under that contract. And once they get something rolling, I think he'll be there for a while. I think they mesh well together. He's always talking about how Trackhouse is like a family and they want to win, and everyone there, when they take team photos, it's everybody is involved after a win. So I think they really like Daniel over there. And, it could be too. Justin Marks did say that just last weekend, it cost him $4 million at Daytona with all the mayhem that went down there. So new team, new organization. They're trying the 91 car. So, maybe they're just seeing how this year at the end it all works out financially as well. So,
Whitey, was it you who said Go ahead. I'll let you say the joke.
I had to laugh when I saw that tweet about $4 million to the team owners, because all I could think is, I wonder how much Ross Chastain cost the team owners this season. Nothing against Ross, but I mean, come on now. And I got two last pieces of news. Julie Gacy, appointed track president of the Chicago Street Course. If that name sounds familiar, she is the current track president out in Phoenix. And we all dislike Phoenix, but I do think they do a good job of putting on an event type championship weekend. They really do focus for the fans out there, even if the track isn't the best, in my opinion. But she's going to be moving up to Chicago. They're setting up a home base up there, and they're going to be there for a couple of years. I believe it's a 3-year deal with the Chicago Street Course. So long-term residency up in Chicago for her. And then some real exciting stuff dropped. The news dropped on Friday down in Daytona, the World Center Racing. Craftsman is returning to the Truck Series as the title sponsor. I think we speculated on this a couple weeks ago, but it was finally confirmed. And I tell you what, I like seeing that red Craftsman Truck Series logo. What did you guys think about that?
Threw me back to my childhood, man. The Craftsman Truck Series. Now all we need is they're already one of the title sponsors for the Cup Series. Now all we need is the Busch Series back.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say I think we need some old veterans to go run the trucks again though, and teach these kids how to race, man, and not tear up equipment every week. But that's all I have for NASCAR news. You want to jump right into the race weekend. It was filled with rain delays and a lot of waiting around. In the end, the Xfinity race ended in lots of wrecked cars too. And Jeremy Clements crossing the finish line first at it was after 1 a.m, maybe even 2 a.m. I forget.
So I had an interesting way of catching the end of that race. So we were talking through text message, and I said, I'm going to give it hell, knowing that this race is going to start. I think it started after 10 or maybe even 11 o'clock.
I think we both texted each other like right at the same time around 10:15. I was like, oh, they're going green in about a half hour. That was.
And I was like, I'm going to give it hell. Like, I'm going to definitely try to watch, because I love super speedway racing.
Yeah.
So I'll take it any way I can have it. And I just couldn't. I was fighting, trying to keep the eyes open. I fell asleep. I fell asleep, ended up waking up during the pace laps. I just shut the TV off and, figured out I'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, the baby starts crying at 1:30 or whatever. So we're awake. Steph's taking care of him, and I'm like, I'm awake. I'm going to check my phone quick
Let's see who won.
How that race shook out, right? Well, I see that there's 8 to go or whatever. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to jump on the app and watch the end of this race in the middle of the night, right?
Yeah.
So I turned it on as they were pretty much cleaning up after the big one. And then I saw the last 2 restarts at the end of the race. So I was like, oh, that was kind of a unique way to catch the end of a race. Thanks, Jackson.
Yeah, I was kind of actually similarly in the same boat as you. So it was 10:15. I was like, yeah, I'm going to give it hell. I had a couple drinks before bed. I watched the whole first stage. And then right as that caution light came out, the lights went out and I was snoozing with the TV on. And right around 1:30, the dog woke me up. She was a little thirsty. She needed to get a little drink. And as I wake up, I go, holy shit, this race is still on. I checked the time. I checked the time.
What I did.
I checked the time because I had it on in the projector. I'm like, oh, night racing on the projector in the bedroom. It's going to be awesome, right? So I fell asleep, sitting up like this. Yeah, I'm out. The dog jumps on the bed and they're setting up to restart. I'm like, all right, let me hit pause on the Fire Stick real quick. I check the time. It's 1:30. She wakes up at 2 o'clock pretty much every night to get a drink. We started putting a bowl in the bedroom so she could drink out of there, but sometimes you forget to fill the bowl. She wakes you up anyways. I was glad she did. So I caught the last restart. Apparently I had missed some restarts and some wrecks. So Jeremy Clements was pretty much the only guy up front. And then as they're coming to the white, they start wrecking in the back. I'm like, please don't throw a fucking caution. they waited till he crossed the line too. Because the car, a lot of people were complaining about this online too. The car looked like it was spinning off onto pit road and then it shot back up onto the track. So I think NASCAR made the right call of holding that yellow at the end there to get the race over with too. But the first stage I thought was awesome. RCR was running great. Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill were working together to run up front. AJ Allmendinger was going 3 wide. I think I sent you guys some crazy Snapchats going wild, like, oh man, 3 wide at Daytona. But yeah, pretty good race in the beginning and the end. I don't know about the middle though. And then man, more rain delays on Saturday night / Sunday. What's up?
I just wanted to say real quick, there were just, and then we can wrap up the Xfinity series. Just 2 things about Jeremy Clements that I found that I didn't know previous to this weekend that I thought were really, really cool. One, first of all, didn't know that he was 37 years old. I had no idea. I thought he was one of these young guns. I could not be more wrong about that. So my fault with the ignorance there. And then 2, the story about how he almost lost his hand. Like it was almost
you said. Yeah,
in
you
a
said.
I guess it was was it a sprint car?
I don't know. I didn't watch the video.
It was a sprint car that he got into a real bad wreck in 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost lost his hand, and they saved it, after surgeries and whatnot. And he still has like problems with it, but he was able to continue his racing career. I didn't know that. And actually, the third thing is that it's a family-run organization. So like his dad was down there. His whole family was down there to celebrate that win. So just really, really cool, feel-good win there for Jeremy Clements.
No, it was a cool win, and it was really cool watching the family all celebrate too. And the fun fact too, I am blocked on Twitter by Jeremy Clements Racing's head of something, First Pacific Funding Racing, which is a big funder for Jeremy Clements. I'm blocked by Steve Carnes, who I think is Jeremy's like manager, money manager, or something like that. Helps him get sponsorships and stuff. I pissed him off because he was complaining when we were going to Portland, Washington, about having to have an off weekend. And he's like, "Oh, price of gas." I'm like, "Well, I guess he didn't budget well enough for a small team. You gotta factor these travel costs in, even if they're going up, man. You could see the price of the pump. That shit takes forever to fall down." Anyways, so I didn't get to see any tweets from him on Saturday morning. But speaking of Saturday night, we didn't see any racing at all. I was kind of glad they called it early though, and we didn't spend a whole lot of time waiting around. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, we had some friends over on Saturday night, so I was like, I was going to probably have only one eye on the TV anyway. No, who am I lying? I would have just been a bad host. I would have been watching the race and been a bad host.
Absolutely.
But I got the text message from friend of the show, Justin Pierce, saying that, hey, it's 10 a.m. tomorrow. And I was kind of relieved, because I was, enjoying the evening and everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Sunday morning breakfast in NASCAR. That's pretty cool. And I'll get into everything else that I feel about the race in a moment here. But my initial thought was, okay, I'm okay with this. And then, we can get into it with the race grades and everything.
Well, in the end, Austin Dillon led twice for 10 laps and locked himself into the playoffs. The race lasted 2 hours, 52 minutes and 44 seconds, plus 3 hours for a rain delay. We saw 7 cautions for 30 laps, 39 lead changes among 19 different drivers. Your top 5, pretty wild top 5 here. We had Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick 1 and 2. Nothing crazy about that. Austin Cindric in 3rd place, pretty normal for Daytona. He was Daytona 500 champion this year. And then we had Landon, Cassill, and Noah Gragson rounding out the top 5 in 4th and 5th. Career best finishes for those guys. So congratulations to them. And just a wild race that ended up in not so wild fashion. I don't know. Let's jump right into it with the race grades. Let's start with you, Matt. What did you think? I had a tough one grading this race, to be honest with you.
You know what? Let me take this because I have an asterisk next to mine because I listened to it on the radio and then came home. I didn't really watch too many of the highlights. The highlights that I did see, it seemed like it was super, super racy.
Yeah.
My experience listening on the radio and all of that, I'm from what I saw, I'm most certainly I would have given it an A. But I have to put that asterisk next to it just because I did not watch the whole thing. I wasn't immersed in it. And like Whitey, you stated the end of that, like as much as I wouldn't have wanted to see it end the last season in a caution, they pretty much just could have.
Yeah.
So I'll just say I gave it an A, but I did put a little bit of an asterisk because it was not a race that I was fully immersed in, and I got to see a lot of the action like you two did. So I'm actually really curious to just kind of listen to what you guys thought of the beginning of the race and the race in a whole, being that you witnessed the rain delay and into it and all of that. So I'll really let you guys go ahead and dive deep into this race grade here.
All right. Before you start though, you said ending in a caution. I will give you one good reason why I'm glad it didn't end during rainfall, and I'll save that for during my my checkers and wreckers. But Matt, what's your race grade?
I like the teases. So it was a B+ as my race grade. So a few things kept this race from being in the A bracket for me. The rain really killed the excitement I had going into the race Saturday night. So like I said, we had friends coming over Saturday night. So I was going to get pizza. The beer was already in the fridge for hours. It was going to be nice and cold. Going to have a nice, fun, evening. The friends that were coming over.
What kind of beer did you get?
I thought maybe I could, introduce them to this really fun, wild Daytona cutoff race. That didn't end up happening. But again, I got excited about the idea of breakfast and NASCAR on a Sunday morning. And I was really, really enjoying the race until I wasn't, right?
Yeah.
So it was a super speedway cutoff race. It was the drama that NASCAR wanted when they made this the cutoff race, So I was enjoying it, but then the biggest one of them all happened, when they all washed off the racetrack.
The biggest one I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, took out the entire field for Austin Dillon.
Insane.
Then we had like the 3+ hour rain delay.
It's so ridiculous watching all those cars wreck at the exact same time and all in different ways.
It's like they were all battery powered and all their batteries died at the same time. And they just washed.
Oh my God.
It was insane. I've never, in the 32 years that I've been on this planet, I've never ever seen anything remotely close to that. I guess probably the closest thing would be New Hampshire last year when Kyle Busch and Denny slid, but they weren't.
But that was just
280 miles per hour with the entire field on their asses.
Yeah.
So it was insane. And then, I don't know, just the 3-hour rain delay really killed my mood. And then we had maybe the worst 16 laps of super speedway racing history to end that race, which just put the nail in the coffin.
You know what that reminded me of? It reminded me of the last Busch Clash that Eric Jones won, where everyone was just destroyed, and it was like the saddest 5 cars just battling.
Even EJ's car was fucking messed up, dude. He had fucking bear bond all over the front of it. Like his in victory lane, I'm like, wait a minute, that car won this race.
Yeah, it was just there was like whatever 15, 6, or I think there was 18 cars out there, which
15. There was 15 at the end, and Eric Jones was a part of that. And 2 of them left after 2 laps. So there was technically probably only between 12 and 8 cars out there. I'd say 8 cars that were legit contenders at the end.
Yeah, so you can't get the momentum. Half of those cars were banged up, or more than half of those cars were banged up. And just once Reddick got on Austin Dillon's ass, I knew, he was going to block, as he should have. He was going to block him all the way to the end. And,
man, did I want him to fucking pull out and go for the win.
He said, I'm sure you know this.
Yeah.
He said that he
never even thought about it.
He had no intentions of leaving. He was going to push him to the end. So, which is, hey, listen,
it's smart for the organization.
Who's already got a foot out the door. That goes to show you what kind of guy Reddick is too. So good on him for that.
Plus, he said he did it for the team as a whole, too. Like, you know, he knows all the guys at the shop. They all work their ass off to try to get to the playoffs and everything. And apparently it's huge bonuses just getting into the playoffs, too. You get a lot of money bonuses, too. It helps out the team. So,
yeah.
And I'm assuming Reddick didn't want to give Cindric a second win and bump himself up higher into the playoff situation either, being in third behind them. They're battling with them. So, you know, Reddick, he probably didn't want to give up that spot to Cindric. I think if Cindric isn't there, it's definitely an easier decision for him to block. But I was pumped to see him help his teammate get to the win. That it just solidifies me as a Reddick fan and the type of person that he is.
I thought it was.
I will say this. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I thought it was funny. Noah Gragson, he said he thought about pulling out and like going for the run and trying to get a win for Beard Motorsports there, even though they're an RCR affiliate. But he's like, yeah, I knew Reddick wouldn't go with me, so I just kind of tucked in behind everybody and stayed in line because he had a shot too, I think, too. He had a nice, clean car at the end there.
It was like 5 or 6 years ago, the Talladega playoff race had a threat of rain coming in. I'll never forget it. It was the best super speedway race I've ever seen, or at least the most exciting super speedway race I've ever seen, where the threat of rain was coming in from before the race even started and all throughout the race. Hey, the rain's coming, get going. Rain never hit the track, but the threat was like right there. And those guys were just driving the shit out of those cars. Yeah. It was very similar the first 3 quarters of that race yesterday. It was so exciting. I could not walk away from the TV. Yeah. And then it all kind of just fell apart. So it stinks, but like I had fun while it lasted.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I felt too. I just simply put, it was an A until it wasn't an A. Yep. And I mean, I don't know how much the ending brings the grade down for the race as a whole. You know, we always talk like, oh, a good ending doesn't necessarily make a good race. You know what I mean? So does a bad ending really make a bad race? I don't think so. I thought it was a great race up until, you know, the chaos ensued, and I gave it an A. So I'll probably go with a B. I'll knock a full letter score off for the ending just because of the lack of cars in contention for the win and everything. And
it's really weird that we had conflicting reports from like everyone on Twitter who was at the racetrack. You know, a lot of people, and in regards to that wreck that happened, a lot of people were like, "Hey, it wasn't raining." And then I saw a couple of videos of people in the stands yelling,
"It was raining,"
a whole lap before that wreck, like, "Yo, it's raining! Like, what are we doing?" And then you had other people at the track saying like, "Nah, the turn 1 was dry until they entered it, and the rain had just hit the track at that weird timing." So just really weird conflicting reports from all over the place down there, and it was just a bizarre situation. I don't blame NASCAR for throwing the yellow before that happened, because there were a lot of conflicting reports.
So I'm going to use that as a segue to jump into the checkers and wreckers, and I'm going to go with my checkers because I give my checkers to NASCAR for getting not only every lap of both races in this weekend, but also you got to give it to all the track personnel, all the broadcasters, the late night Friday and the rain delays, etc. I give it to all those guys. But I don't blame NASCAR for what happened because of what you said, all the conflicting reports. Even Tyler Reddick, I listen to his interview every Monday on Sirius XM with Danielle Trotta and Larry McReynolds. And he said, like, even as he was wrecking, he never had rain on his windshield, because he was so close to the wall and the direction the rain was coming down, like his car never got wet, you know? And listening to the radio, like the spotters talking and the crew chief and everything, they were talking about that rain cell and how it just stalled out around the track for probably 40 laps or so, where it was looming there, but there was no breeze or anything moving the storm in. So at that point, like, you can't blame NASCAR for not calling a caution because the storm's not moving on you, you know? So
race while you can.
Exactly. And like, even Reddick said, like, he would hate for them to call it early and then you sit around for 5 laps or whatever. The rain never comes. You send the guys back on track and then they wreck, you know? I just feel like it was one of those impossible spots where it's an impossible call, you know, like a lot of drivers, like you said, either said like, oh, it wasn't raining the last time we came around that turn and we came into it and it was like it was just hitting a wall, you know? So and then other drivers said that they got wet coming out too. So like, I don't know. It's hard to tell.
That wreck was insane.
See, I think NASCAR could have done something a little bit more, just for the pure fact that you are at Daytona.
Yeah.
You are at a super speedway. Even if there is a tiny threat of rain, if you're at Richmond, if you're at, somewhere else, and a little bit of track gets wet, you're fine.
Yeah.
At Daytona, going into turn 1, you're not going to be fine. So I think you do need to skew your calls a little bit tighter with super speedway races. And like Daytona, like they know they have the radar, they know it's there. And I heard Denny talk about it and a few other drivers during that rain delay. They kind of chewed out NASCAR and were like, hey, like, what's the difference? Like Reddick was saying, what's the difference if you held us another 5 laps?
Yeah.
Or you did pull us down and then wait until that threat is gone. You know what I mean? Like, I do think because it's super speedway racing, and once that track does get wet and you go into turn 1, there is no stopping. You saw what happened to Loudon, how bad that was.
Yeah. Now
put that at 200 miles an hour at Daytona. I think they could have done a little bit more. They could have pulled those cars down and held off before they went. I think they will look at this again, and maybe have better protocol about, once again, it sucks that we're talking about this, but who makes that call? Who's in turn 1? Who's in turn 2?
Yeah.
How much is it the spotter's responsibility to tell NASCAR? Does NASCAR have its own spotter up there as an official with that? Like,
there's
I just
officials
think
in the corners.
At Daytona,
and stuff.
they have to raise their awareness just a little bit more because safety, I guess, and how fast they are going there. And we saw what happens when the track does get just a little bit wet at a super speedway. It was
wild, dude.
It was insane.
Those front 4 cars all it was literally like hitting ice, and they all got jittery and just right up the. I've never seen any. Think about how shit scared they were. I'm leading the race. Oh my God, this is amazing. We're doing so good. Boom, right into the wall. It was unbelievable, that wreck.
And I'll tell you what, the in-car from Austin Dillon, he was going to T-bone that 21.
Yeah.
I still, him going through that, he's looking right at the 21 car.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, boom, he goes a little left, that car goes around, he makes it through. Like, lot of full pants, lot of full
If I'm Austin Dillon, he really messed up in one sense. If I'm Austin Dillon, when I get through that wreck, I'm just yelling over the radio. Oh!
I'm sure he did. He just didn't key it up on the radio. But I teased it. There was a reason why I gave my checkers NASCAR, and it was for getting every lap of the race in. Even though in the ending, like we said, had a real sad amount of cars on the finish there, it did make a difference when it came to the playoffs, because even though Austin Dillon still won, he got that place in. Martin Truex Jr. was in when the rain came out, because Blaney was laps down because of his previous incident, and then he fell back in the pack and he dropped down 2 points, something like that. So 3.
No.
So it did affect the playoffs there. Blaney got in. Sucks for Martin Truex Jr. I'm sure maybe we'll get into it. I know we were getting heated this morning in our text messages.
We don't have to.
I don't know. If you want to, I mean, I thought it was a good conversation.
We can if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people online, and even yesterday, I was one of them saying, "Oh, I don't think Austin Dillon really deserves to be in the playoffs." But you want to what?
No,
I changed my mind.
That wasn't my argument. All right, we're gonna get into it.
All right. Well, if you want to.
My argument wasn't that Austin Dillon doesn't deserve to get in the playoffs. My argument was that Martin Truex Jr. deserves to be in the playoffs more than Austin Dillon.
I agree.
And the reason behind me saying that is it's not an Austin Dillon or Martin Truex thing. Take the names out of it completely. It's not a personal thing at all. I just feel like Martin Truex Jr., if you look at all the stats, if I have the stats hub up right now, if you want me to rattle stats off, if you look at all the stats, all the important metrics throughout the season, Martin Truex Jr. has Austin Dillon beat in every single one of them except one, and that's
barely.
Wins. That's wins. Now, I'll say this as well. Dem's the rules, right? They all signed up for it. That's the rules. They all signed up for it. They knew that going into Daytona back in February, that a win is the metric that matters the most. So I get that. I understand it. I don't necessarily have to like it, though. I don't, again, I'm not taking anything away from Austin Dillon.
Yeah.
I don't mean to diminish the fact that he got into the playoffs. I just think that the body of work of Martin Truex Jr. gets thrown right out the window, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I kind of understood that in those texts today, Matt, where when we were going back and forth, basically what you're trying to say, this is the way I interpret it was, there should never be an instance where the guy at the cutoff line is third or fourth overall in points.
Yeah.
That is the blasphemy of this whole situation. That is where I agree with you that is silly. That is something that, you normally the cutoff is a legit battle in points between 15, 16, 17, 18, in there, those legit battle between those spots.
Yeah.
But when you have the 16th place driver third in points, and the guy behind him in 17th, who is Eric Jones, who's almost 200 points behind to get in, there's something wrong with that. That right there should never happen. Right. And I agree with that.
My larger point is, like, you look at every other sport, and I know I'm not necessarily just sticking ball sports, just even other forms of motorsports, is that in what scenario does one of the top teams or drivers not make it into a playoff?
Yeah.
That would be like, oh, I'm sorry, the Buccaneers had a really good record last year, but whoever, the Giants won on the last week of the season, so we're going to put them in over the Bucs. It just leaves us. That's probably not the best analysis, but like, it just leaves a sour taste in my mouth that Martin Truex Jr. was a top 5 or 6 guy in the points all season long. He won the most playoff stages. He won all these things.
Yeah.
He did everything the right way. He just couldn't win a race. And I get it. A devil's advocate can say, hey, he had plenty of opportunities to go win a race. He led a lot of laps. He should have just won a race, and he didn't. So I get both sides. I just a little bit of a salty taste in my mouth over Austin Dillon getting in over
Martin Truex Jr. So, and I agree with you, because I think we all agree on this point where we think consistency should matter more than wins. We like the old Winston Cup point system because it rewards consistency over wins,
Whitey, I was MFing you today because I was like, that MFer, he's been sending us the Winston Cup standings every week for 26 weeks. And I've been saying how antiquated that old system was, how nobody likes it.
Yeah.
And here I am advocating
I know you are.
like, oh, Whitey wins this one.
Listen, so my whole thing is, do I think Martin Truex Jr. deserves to be in the playoffs? Absolutely. Like, he's been sitting in 4th to 8th in the season standings pretty much all season, right? But at the same time, this is exactly what the playoffs were designed to do. Yep. Honor winning more than anything else. Win and you're in. And then on top of it, this car is doing exactly what we wanted the car to do. Shrink the field, make the parity more where smaller teams don't have to spend an outrageous amount of money to go out and win a race. And we saw it, because how many first-time winners did we see? I mean, let's go through the playoffs. Daniel Suarez spent years in top equipment, and then he finally moves down to a lower tier team last year, and then he wins this year because of the new car, obviously. Austin Cindric, rookie. I mean, Daytona 500, I don't want to call it a fluke, but I mean, it kind of, Chase Briscoe didn't do shit last year, won a race early on, got himself in. Does he deserve to be in the playoffs? I don't know.
No, because his average friggin' finish is like 28th or something like that.
Exactly. But you're playing the game. Now here, I just want to compare Austin Dillon to Martin Truex Jr. real quick, because I think the problem was Martin Truex Jr. won so many stages that it made it 7, that it gave him 70 extra points, right? So right now he's sitting in 17th with 798 points. You take away those stage wins, and he is right on par with Eric Jones in 18th. And you want to know what? If Eric Jones won, we'd all be excited.
You can't take away those stage wins.
I know. I'm just saying it's the way the playoff system works, though. So Martin Truex Jr. 3 top 5s, 12 top 10s. Austin Dillon, he has, 4 top 5s and 8 top 10s. So less top 10s, a little less consistent. Still got that win. He got in. Like, if Martin Truex Jr. didn't get all those stage wins, he'd be sitting in that playoff cut regardless,
But this is the thing, Whitey. This is where it changes. It takes that whole, why even have points then? Why give those points? Why even have that? Because one, you have certain teams that they know they can't win every week. So what do they try to do? Get as many points as you can. When you unload, you might know, okay, shit, I have maybe an 8th place to 5th place car.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take this car home in that and try to get stage points out of this so I can at least come out of here with a semi feeling like I got a victory for the car I brought to the racetrack.
Yeah.
So every week you might have a car that's capable of winning, go for the win. And when you go for the win, you don't take those stage points. You give those up because if you stay out in stage 2, you're going to be screwed for stage 3 and vice versa at some of these races. So to me, what is the point of going out and trying to win stages to get those extra points if those points in the end he's like, oh, listen, I'm building up all these points. I'm getting all these points to be 3rd overall. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're not in. So that part of me, it takes away a strategic part of the season that some of these teams could use. And to me, it makes it a single file thing that and that's why I think there are some tweaks that need to come into these playoffs. We've talked about it before about just getting rid of the win and you're in and awarding a 15, 20 point bonus only. And this way the wins are just as much. And to be honest, I think you lock in the top 10 in points at the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
To me, that you crown the champion of the regular season, but I also think the consistency, which I love, which I think we all love, is overlooked now for these 1-win gimmick, races sometimes. Yeah. And I just think that it's becoming clear that something does need to get tweaked with this.
Here's the thing, though. You bring up now points don't matter. That playoff spot still came down to points, and he still missed it by 3 points. That's 3 positions. That's 3 positions in any of these 26 races,
Right, but when's the last time that someone 3rd or 4th in points was sitting at 16th, 17th at the bottom of the cut line? Here's the thing. Here's the thing. You have William Byron, you have Denny, you have Briscoe, who are running from 23rd to 28th, an average finish.
Yeah.
That is absolutely just insane that those guys who their average finish is damn near almost 30th, who barely making it into the qualifications for the playoffs, have a spot over somebody that ran and is now 3rd. Like that, I get it. Like Matt said, them's the rules, but I think it's an eye-opening thing that NASCAR's gonna have to address this.
I don't think they do, though.
Do you want to know? You want to know all the drivers who had a better average finish throughout this whole entire year, better than Martin Truex Jr. You want to hear that whole list of drivers that had a better average finish than Martin Truex Jr. Chase Elliott. That's the list.
Okay.
That's the list.
I think Logano had him. Didn't Logano have him?
No.
Logano finished 2nd overall in points. That's what it was.
Chase Elliott has a 10.6 average finish throughout the season. Martin Truex Jr. is 2nd and 13.3. That's it. Chase Elliott, our regular season champion, has a better average finish than Martin Truex Jr. this entire season, and Martin Truex Jr. isn't going to race for a playoff. I get it. It's the first year that we've had 16 winners. This is kind of an anomaly. It's been a crazy season, all that, and But the thing is, it's
not going to be an anomaly in the
every
future.
Year. Exactly.
That's why they need to change it now.
No,
that's
you don't.
Why they need to do something now.
No, you don't, because we're already seeing the top guys start to go to the top again, and it start to even out. This parity is slowing down and it's spreading out.
Dude, how do you explain to an outsider?
It's an anomaly season. It's a new car. Everyone's learning, and we had a whole bunch of different winners in the beginning of the season.
But listen, how do you explain at the end of the season, when the season is over, How do you explain to an outsider that the guy who had the second best average finish throughout the season
is going to
finish 17th in points?
He didn't win a race.
So he finished 17th in points? Tell me how that makes sense.
Okay. Look up Denny Hamlin's average finish versus Austin Dillon's average finish for this season.
About either of those guys. We're
because
talking about
here's the thing though. Denny Hamlin has 2 wins on the season. He deserves to be in the playoffs, right? But he has worse consistency than Austin Dillon. And if you go back to the Winston Cup points, which honors consistency the most, Denny Hamlin sits at 17th in the Winston Cup points. Austin Dillon sits in 15th. Martin Truex Jr. sits in 8th.
Right. So that I don't think Denny
should be in the playoffs either.
Like, I do think this is a shit year. I think that, and this is where I'm saying, like, I think that those wins that Denny had, they came as like what that's just like saying, oh, that's like winning a rain delayed race. Like they were that doesn't show the full body of work. And I think that's where Matt is trying to come from. Like, look at
I get it, yeah.
And I think where Matt comes from too is like it makes our sport look like shit.
Martin Truex Jr.'s driver rating, which is an overall accumulation of all the stats, is an 89.5, and Austin Dillon's is a 68.2.
All right, what's Denny Hamlin's?
We're not talking about Denny Hamlin.
I'm talking about the whole entire field. I'm talking about the entire field versus Martin Truex Jr.
All right, well,
we're talking. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
He doesn't deserve to be
That's what I'm saying. How many guys are in the playoffs that deserve it less than Martin Truex Jr.? Probably 10. You know.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
But guess what?
Is why the system is broken.
Is it broken or is it working exactly how they planned it? To honor wins. To honor wins.
It's an
They're honoring wins.
You're right.
That's why Denny
Hamlin. It's working for entertainment value.
Yes,
it's working for entertainment
system.
value.
It's not a competitive system.
That's all it is now. It's not about who. At the end, and like, okay, Matt. Even though Chase is a champion, Chase is the front runner right now to win a championship. It's our sport. The champion nowadays is most likely not going to be the best driver out there, and I guess I'm okay with it because of the entertainment. You kind of have to accept it because it is what it is.
It's an entertainment system. It's not a competitive system.
Yes.
Oh man, I think getting wins is pretty competitive.
A win because the whole field wrecked out is going to get rewarded over
this particular win. Yeah, it's a little dicey. But guess what? That's what you get when you put Daytona as the cutoff race. Everyone wanted a crazy win. If Eric Jones won that race and knocked Martin Truex Jr. out, are we having the same conversation?
Context matters. How did he win?
And I said it, and I'm like, I said it would be the same scenario. If Eric Jones won, I'd be saying the same thing. It would be kind of crazy to see him get in over, it was either Blaney or Truex, third and fourth in points. That would have sucked. I still would have agreed it sucked. Yeah. And you know what else I would have agreed with? That Eric Jones would be out after the first round. And I could still say, and in back of my mind and my gut, I still think if Truex does make it, he ain't making it out of the first round either, just because I just think that to Whitey's point, and this is where you kind of I see it from both sides. At this point in the time, winning is everything, and if you're not already winning by now, it's going to be a lot harder to win and make it through the playoffs.
Exactly, that's all I'm saying.
So the way I was seeing it, like you talking about football before, it actually kind of does happen in football because you could have. You have the divisions. There's a way to get in the playoffs. If you win your division, you're in. And, some divisions have teams that have 10 wins. 3 teams can have 10 or more wins. And you have another team that is sitting with 10 wins in another division. But guess what? That wild card spot is going to go to one of those other people. So you could win 10 games and it seems like, oh, hell, I'm going to make the playoffs. Not so fast, my friend. There's teams that make the playoffs with a losing record. And you might be in a division that's really good, where your 4 teams in your division are super hard. Now you have like the Cowboys division, where that division, it's always up in the air, and those teams are gonna have a better opportunity. So to me, this is kind of like a wild card scenario where Truex hey, he's at Joe Gibbs. He's in a great division.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have Austin Dillon. He's in another division. Not so good. But guess what? All he had to do was get that one. And now that wild card, he made the wild card. And Truex kind of didn't. And it's kind of similar. It's not exact, but that's where my head went to. What was one of those scenarios? And it sucks for both scenarios.
And guess what? Wild card winners could go on and win the Super Bowl. In fact, they have 2010 Green Bay Packers. They won the wild card game. They had to keep on winning, and they just kept moving up. You know,
Giants have done it. Wild card winners. Wild card winners win the Super Bowl all the time, but.
So are you saying those guys are less valid because of it? Like that's kind of what NASCAR is going for. We're honoring wins over consistency. You know, just because
at the end of the season, once it's all over, it's at the very least worth revisiting to see what we can do. Because clearly, it's not a perfect system. I don't think a perfect system exists, but I do think that a better system is out there somewhere.
Well,
we have too many smart people in the industry to come up with something just maybe a little bit better.
We got 3 semi-smart people right here. We came up with an idea. It was pretty simple. When you get knocked out of the playoffs, you go back to your regular season points algorithm, and you can move up there. I think that's the only way to fix it. That way, if you don't make the playoffs, you're not stuck in 17th place, and that's as high as you can go. Personally, that's how.
So when you're running third all year long, and then like the final standings for Truex at the end of this year is going to be 17th. You know what I mean? Because Eric Jones isn't going to catch him. You know, no one's going to catch him for that last spot. He's so far ahead in points.
Yeah, here's
someone 15 or 20 years down the road looks at the final standings from this season. They're going to see Truex in 17th. They're going to say, "What the hell happened to him that year?"
I'll tell you what happened to him. He won 7 stages, but he never won a race. You know, he finished sub 20th in 11 of the 26 regular season races. Just because he did really well in the races he did well in doesn't mean he did really well the entire season. That's the thing. Like, he had a lot of real off
I texted
weeks.
earlier.
But his average one of those still the second best average finish.
Because when he was on, and when he was off, he was damn off, and he was finishing sub 20th. You know, I was looking.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
I was just looking at his Wikipedia page.
But average finish is going to include those ones that he totally
35th
whiffed on too.
35th
so what you're saying is, even though he whiffed a bunch of races, he's still second in average finish.
Right. Yeah, because he had a lot of.
You're going against yourself.
Because he had a lot of solid days, but what I'm saying is when he was off, he was real off because he wasn't when he was off, he wasn't finishing in 15th or he wasn't finishing in 14th. He was finishing in 38th.
But it obviously didn't matter because where he was finishing the other races, it trumped that. And it kept him up there second in average finish.
But in the end, it didn't because he was still 3 points short. That's what I'm saying. Like all 3 points.
That's the point, Whitey. There's got to be a different.
Right, but Whitey, this is where I think you're looking at it a little bit different. You're looking at it like he's a legitimate. Oh man, he was 3 points from making it into the playoffs.
Yeah,
as a 16th, 17th. In the points. That's what you're thinking of it as. That's not the case.
I know because
you know what I mean?
They're fighting for
your
fourth
third
place.
in points. You should never. I could see your point if you're legitimate. Take everything away. He's 17th, 16th, 18th in there in points, and you're battling for that legit. Like after the playoffs, when you get booted out, when you're there, I could see that.
Yeah.
But when you're third. And you're down there,
I get
you can't use that same stats. It just doesn't correlate.
I understand.
I just don't think that there's a good argument, and this is no offense to you, just out there in the world. I don't think that there's a person in the world that can convince me that Austin Dillon deserves to be in over Martin Truex Jr. But
I do believe, Matt, listen.
Well, you could say that about the top 12 of the same guys.
I was just going to say, deserving doesn't get you in the playoffs, wins do, and that's what matters.
Put it this way. This is the way I'm thinking about it, and sometimes I can get skewed this way as well. And to put it more into football terms again, just for the way my brain processes too, because that is another one of my favorite sports. Think about this, Matt, as this is the Pro Bowl. Martin Truex Jr. He's popular. He's a fan favorite. He's a veteran. He's been around. Even though there's other people maybe just as good or better than him, they're not going to get the Pro Bowl vote because nobody knows them. He's the guy that's been around there. He's going to get in, just like Tom Brady. Even if Tom Brady, there might be 12 other quarterbacks better than him, but if he's Tom Brady and he's winning and the Patriots have a winning record, he's going to get in. So I think a lot of the times it's, Martin Truex Jr., we know him, we love him, he's been there, past champion. You take that name, Martin Truex Jr., and put it next to Austin Dillon, yeah, you're going to immediately, eyes are going to go, Martin Truex Jr. is better than Austin Dillon. And, to the, just the eye, yeah, you will say that. But I think a little bit of that goes into my thought process sometimes. Like we always said in the beginning of this year, oh, man, like, Kyle Busch is going to win. Joey Logano, we're going to pick him in fantasy. Think about how many people we didn't pick in fantasy this year that we normally would have picked. So it's one of those scenarios, too, where it's like we might be skewed because we're so used to Truex having not just one win, but multiple wins. And just like Harvick, he had 9 wins to 0 to struggling. We might never win again. Now he has 2. And it's just like sometimes these names – I think it's going to start to change, and that's the hard part about our brains is hearing these names on a daily or a weekly basis. It's going to be hard in these next transition years of hearing the Suarez in the top 5 and that, and really analyzing, man, like how didn't he make it? So it's a tough one to swallow, and I can see it from both sides.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to bring that up earlier, and it slipped my mind, but you're making the same point where it's like, we're comparing this playoff to old playoffs, old drivers, like this is a whole new clean slate. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like we never think about last year going in. I think we had like, 8 or 9, maybe 12 different winners. And we're like, man, could this be the year? And then people start rattling off wins and getting real consistent, and then that narrative went away. This is the first year where we even got close to it. And guess what? If Kurt Busch didn't get a concussion and Austin Dillon won this race, Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex Jr. are both out, Yeah. It's how you race.
It's kind of like when your local DA gets promoted as you got a new district attorney, and you know what? That district attorney wants to make a name for himself.
He's making a name for himself.
And you know what? They go out there and start arresting and putting people in jail for petty crimes. Just say, you know what? I'm going to clean this place up. And Martin Truex Jr. is he's being made an example of this year out of the playoffs. Ryan Blaney also. I'll throw his name in there because even though he made it, if like Whitey just said, if Kurt Busch doesn't that waiver, they're both out at 3rd and 4th. And like, they're just being made an example of this playoff system with this new car, with the parity of these new teams. And it sucks, but I think it is just being made an example of, and that's no one wants to be that guy that gets made an example of, and it just so happens to be MTJ.
Yeah, he drew the shortest straw out of 17, and I agree he should be in the playoffs. I think it's bullshit. Say this though,
something about Austin Dillon when he gets out of the car, takes his helmet off, and those earpieces. He has a very punchable face.
Real punchable face.
Nothing against him, but
I know I'm wearing the t-shirt right now, but no, definitely not a fan favorite win for Austin Dillon. I will say one thing though, and I had it and now I lost it. Fuck, man, I lost it.
Oh, my checkers and records.
Anyways, no, my
no, we really went off. That was maybe an all-time show, like getting into the weeds.
Anyways, my records for the weekend is Mother Nature because I was so excited for this race weekend, and it was just a bummer all around. Waiting for the rain on Friday night, waiting for the rain on Saturday night, waiting for the rain on Sunday afternoon. It was fucking miserable. I remember my point I was going to make. Listen, Martin Truex Jr. deserves to be in the playoffs over 2 of his JGR counterparts. And guess what? Christopher Bell ain't one of them. I think he deserves it more than Kyle Busch, who really snuck a win.
He could have been in their position if
he would have
Bristol didn't take out Reddick at Bristol.
Yeah, and
I'll tell you what, he's not as nice with a microphone in front of him as Truex. Truex knew exactly what happened. I love the way he handled it like a true professional would. Kyle Busch is in that scenario, he might take his car and just drive it and smash it right through the garage.
Yeah. And then Denny Hamlin.
I don't do that.
Denny Hamlin.
Right.
Denny Hamlin has multiple wins, and he had a really shit beginning season. So like
the first 15 races,
yeah,
he didn't get on until the summer started.
In fact, he's still not running real great either. So I don't know. It's one of those things, man. It's the game. Does it need to change? Here's the thing. I don't want to see NASCAR do a knee-jerk reaction. I think NASCAR does too many knee-jerk reactions, and that's how we got stuck with the playoff format in the beginning.
Yeah, you know what I just remembered?
What's up?
Don't forget, fans of the show and fans of NASCAR, that documentary starts on Thursday night
on USA. Shit, I forgot. It's at what,
10
o'clock?
Sucks? You know what sucks that I just thought about too?
What's that?
Is that Penn State is their first game of the season is also Thursday night. I'm definitely going to watch that. So I think the docu-series is going to have to get recorded.
Well, yeah, just throw it on the DVR. That's probably what I'll do. Watch it at work while I'm doing a little keying and moving some inventory around.
Anyway, sorry.
But
Back
yeah,
to checkers and wreckers.
But yeah, my wreckers, Mother Nature, just sucks waiting around. But also glad we got to see all the laps run. How about you guys? Eric, what was your checkers and wreckers for the weekend? What a tangent.
My checkers goes to Austin Dillon. You got to give it to him. He did what he had to do. He survived one of the craziest, 86.3% of the field got taken out. So to survive that,
I think is the exact number I saw.
Yeah, so to survive that, he had to been doing something right, even if it is a little bit of luck on his side getting through there. But, going into that, he was one of those drivers from, 18th up that was always there at the cutoff. So, he knew what he had to do and he got that done. So, you got to give kudos for him getting that done. My records goes to the field because 86.5% of the field, they wreck.
Yeah.
So my records goes to the big wreck and everyone out there. And that kind of ruined the end of the race for me, being that the field kind of was just non-existent. Like I said, maybe 8 to 10 cars at the end there, 2 packs of 4 kind of tried to do something and damaged cars. So my records goes to all the wrecks because we aren't that type of fan that wants to see all of that mayhem and carnage. So to me, and I know you guys would agree, those big ones are just not what we want to see when it comes to racing.
Speaking of wreck, didn't turn into wreck, could have though. What did you guys think about Austin Dillon's bump and run move on Austin Cindric going into one there?
It was a blatant run over, but you got to do what you got to do. Same thing with his 500 win. he bumped the 10
That's
AA
what I'm
out
saying.
of the way.
I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern, and for a guy,
it's a pattern at the last lap on a super speedway.
Yeah,
and
but it's also
you can say the same about Larson. Larson has a pattern of blocking on super speedways and other races too. So does Logano. I just think that comes down to. If Austin Dillon really wants to be a legitimate playoff driver and a legitimate shot to move in advance out of that first round, that's one of those things we talked about Ross all year long. You got to pick and choose those battles, and you get those wins, but what at what cost did you get those wins, and how do you race people, and they'll remember that, you know what I mean? So those shitty moves and blocks, I don't really look at patterns because it's more of I think it's more of who's around you and how you race that driver, whether that guy punts or moves you. And man, it's playoff cutoff time. You need a win to get in. I'm behind that race car. Austin Cindric already has a win. I'm sure RC wanted him to punt him because of, what I said earlier. Cindric has a win. Reddick doesn't want him to get win number 2 on the season and advance him up to the playoffs and leave Reddick behind. So I think there's a lot of games being played at the end there to try to get the 2 out of the way. And, he was just the one to do it. So
I just thought it was a real risky maneuver at a super speedway, especially coming from a guy who ended up in the catch fence before, I don't know, man. Maybe stop turning people at 200 miles per hour. I don't know. That's just me. How about you, Matt? What's your checkers and records for the weekend?
So my checkers goes to Steve Letarte and the NBC production crew. So I mentioned it at the top of the show that I had something for them, and it's my checkers. During one of the cautions, Steve broke down how the flaps get deployed on the next gen car during a spin out when the car
Absolutely
spins out.
amazing.
And the top flap is connected down to a flap that's at the end of the diffuser. So when the
Drops
top
a
flap
panel
flips
down.
open, the bottom one flips down, and then they actually showed it happening in one of the wrecks. And then once again, Steve did a phenomenal job at not only explaining it, but then, like I said, NBC, the production staff showing that cutaway car and breaking it down step by step. It's just super informative, and it does NBC does a really, really good job at breaking it down for maybe some of those people like myself who aren't necessarily gearheads.
Yeah.
And Steve does a good job of talking the layman through it, and having the everyman understand exactly what's going on with these cars. And it's really helping myself, and I'm sure millions of other fans, be really informative on what's happening with these next gen cars.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting too, and I wasn't aware because that's a new thing on these new cars too. And then I thought just NBC being able to get that shot of, I believe it was the 14 spinning around, and you see it actually deploy. Yep. I thought that was really cool to see.
Like it deployed as exactly how the cutaway car showed it was going to.
Yep.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was great because they showed the graphic that explained it all, and then they showed it actually happening. I'm like, oh wow, okay, that's really cool. And you saw that little lever drop it down. It was real neat. How about your wreckers? What was your wreckers for the weekend?
Well, I already pissed off the Austin Dillon fan base, so I may as well piss off another fan base as well.
Oh no, who's getting it now?
Shrey, I'm sorry, buddy. Matt Vav, I'm sorry, Joe Vav. I'm sorry, buddy. Don't take this personally, but my records goes to Harvick. Like I've said several times on this show, Harvick is low-key one of the biggest crybabies in the sport when something doesn't go his way. During the rain delay, he said NASCAR mix it up as they go when asked if he thinks that they should be, if he should have been the leader, inferring that like he was ahead of, he was ahead when the caution came out, not AD. The only problem with that, Kevin Harvick, is that the NASCAR rulebook clearly states that if you're involved in a wreck, you stop being scored until you blend back in. Not to mention that his car was destroyed and he didn't even go back racing after the rain delay. So I have no idea what he was doing, throwing shade at NASCAR like that.
He's politicking. He's trying
to off super salty all the time, and it just stuck with me again.
Do you think he was just trying to do a little politics? Maybe do some convincing in the NASCAR booth, like, oh, maybe.
I'm sure he was, but when he's always crying about something, he doesn't come off as politicking. He comes off as a crybaby.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. Nobody has to agree with me. I'm sure people disagree with me, but it's the way I've seen it over the past few years. Just you want to talk about patterns?
Yeah,
that's a pattern I've picked up.
Well, I'm glad you explained the rule too, because I saw a lot of tweets about that on Sunday where they're like, "Oh, is Austin Dillon leading because like he didn't make it, like he made it through, but he was behind Harvick, and Harvick technically made it through even though he crashed too." So yeah, if you're involved in the wreck, it's kind of like the lucky dog. I saw someone tweeting where it's like, oh, Bubba should wreck somebody so he could get the lucky dog. I'm like, yeah, but if he wrecks somebody, then he doesn't get the lucky dog because he's involved in the wreck that caused the caution, like one of those deals. So I don't know. It's, I think, honestly, I think it's NASCAR's fault because I feel like they're the only sport that doesn't let the rule book be readily available to
but the competitors have it. I'm sure the competitors have it. They have to.
Yeah, but I mean, it would just help with speculation, for how many people are armchair crew chiefing at home on Twitter, and then like if you have the chance, like, oh, you throw the rule at them, like, nah, this is wrong, like you're wrong for this, whatever. I would like to know. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on the rules in NASCAR, but then every once in a while, some weird shit happens. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a rule.
I don't know. I just wouldn't have had a problem with him trying to politic that he was in the lead if it wasn't for the fact that he threw shade at NASCAR for virtually no reason.
Yeah.
And he was wrecked out. So it didn't even matter what he thought or why even say it at that point.
I don't know, man.
I think I saw this on Twitter. Someone posted a stat. I don't know. You might have even retweeted it, Whitey. Harvick was involved in an accident in almost every single one of his super speedway races he's been in his career.
Oh, yeah.
So I think he's just like, I think he's just over super speedway racing and races at his age. He's like, you know what? Every single one of these fucking races, I'm getting involved in a crash and I'm sitting here during a red flag and I got to wait for rain to know that in 2 laps, I'm probably going to be involved in another fucking big wreck. And like, dude, a lot of people, or not people, drivers, they like, we love as fans super speedway racing.
They're fed up
Busch
with it.
fucking hates it, dude. There's a lot of guys that are like, yep, like I just like this weekend it is what it is. I know I'm gonna wreck,
Dude,
and I can't wait to move on to the next.
AJ
Allmendinger went on a
Yeah.
rant this weekend.
On live TV, he just straight, he goes, I fucking hate this place, you know?
No, if you're not a Denny Hamlin, a Chase, a Logano, those people that are constantly running up front at super speedways and having a shot to win those, you absolutely are miserable about it. Yeah.
So the same thing happens on iRacing. iRacing usually.
Can you imagine never finishing a super?
I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back,
dude.
Right. You're probably like, you're loading up that week to go to Talladega, and you're just like, oh, come on again.
So on iRacing, right? Usually the schedule for the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup follows the regular season schedule, and of course this week's Daytona. I love Daytona and iRacing. I know I can feel when the wrecks are happening. I know when to jump out of the pack. I know how to like. I didn't finish worse than 10th this whole entire week, and I took a full day off to race all day long, right? But it's the same story every single race. Oh, man, when's this week over, man? Yeah, I'm trying to build my rating back up. I took a fucking killing last week, and sure enough, there's at least one big one, usually 3, and they only race 25 laps in the trucks too. They're super short races because like you'll get guys too wide and then someone wiggles down the bottom and wrecks the whole entire field, you know? So like even like just people playing video games are sick of Daytona because they just get wrecked out. Like that's just, it's what happens. But when you're watching at home, I fucking love it, dude. I love it. And I mean, Tyler Reddick, not a bad super speedway racer.
My 2 favorite tracks are Daytona and Talladega. I absolutely love super speedway racing. Anyway, we can carry on with the show. I know we've got a lot more to go and it's getting late.
It is getting late. Oh my goodness. Are we getting late? But that's our checkers and wreckers. I mean, other than that, there's really not much to talk about the race. I just kind of, I have a list of drivers that led double-digit laps. If you want to hear that, I don't know. Chase led the most, 31 laps. Great super speedway racer. No wonder why Matt loves super speedway racing. Eric Jones.
It goes back to the Earnhardt family,
too. Yeah. Eric Jones led 22 laps. He was the second longest leader, too. Man, he had a chance. Before that rain, man, he had a chance. Joey Logano, 14 laps. Denny Hamlin led 13. Tyler Reddick led 13. Austin Cindric led 13. Alex Bowman led 11. And then, of course, Austin Dillon led 10 and got the win. Kyle Larson, oh, whoops, jumped ahead. That's all I got for the race weekend. You guys have anything else to add to it?
Yeah, I don't think Austin Dillon deserves to be in over Martin Truex.
All right, I think we covered that one.
I was just going to bring up that I was excited to see EJ run up front and be aggressive. Yeah. And normally, okay, he could have played the I'm going to sit in the back and let the mayhem ensue and try to make it in that way. And on the ride home, I was yelling, I was hitting my steering wheel, and I'm going, you know what? I go, let's go. Stay up front and be aggressive and try to win. So it was nice to see him up there, you know, battling it, and you know, he went out swinging. So I was happy to see that.
Hey, I still think he has a chance to win a race before the end of the season.
Oh yeah.
Look where we're coming up this week. He's super good at Darlington. He's won at Darlington.
He's great at those crown jewel tracks, you know. But that's all I have for the race weekend down in Daytona. Like Matt said, we are heading to Darlington, but first I gotta do one piece of business. Every week, everyone loves to talk about the winner on a Monday one, Austin Dillon. But here on the Bump and Run podcast, we like to talk about the guy who came in last place. Unfortunately, it was Eric's girlfriend's guy and our buddy Jay's guy, Kyle Larson, he had an engine issue on lap 14. Sounded like it was electrical. They couldn't really figure it out. And so he had to go behind the pit wall. Third time he's had engine issues this season, which is, I feel like, super rare for Hendrick, let alone one single car at Hendrick. I saw some conspiracy theories online. I don't think there's anything of that, but does that worry you guys going into the playoffs? Maybe they're doing something to the cars, trying to get a little extra speed, and it's, I don't know, maybe burning out a wiring harness or something.
This morning, and he like literally almost hung up on him, like he laughed him off the phone.
I'm not saying intentionally. I'm thinking just like setting up the car or whatever, you know.
Now, whenever there's rain and moisture, electrical issues are very, very common in these race cars. So, I don't see anything wrong with that, especially since we had all the rain and the delays, and any little water could get into that car and ruin that ruin the electrical system in there. So me knowing and being a fan for this long, that happens quite often when we have rain and a lot of it. So,
there's usually one guy stuck on pit road trying to get it fired up after a long rain delay. So that's a good point. Like I said, though, we're heading to Darlington for the Southern 500. First Xfinity on track, 3 p.m. on Saturday on USA. For this is a long one. The Sports Clips Haircuts VFW Help a Hero 200. So I'm assuming that Sports Clips does some volunteer haircuts for some veterans out there. So check that out. And then Cup on track Sunday night. Of course, it's the long weekend. We got a Labor Day weekend here, 6 p.m. The Cookout Southern 500 on USA. I'm super excited. I'm hoping that the weather holds out and we don't get rain like we did a couple years ago when we finished the race at 2 a.m. Although, you want to what? Something about night race, and I don't mind the late night race, to be honest with you. And we got to go over our picks. But first, let's give our little playoff predictions. We've all did a little bracket. Now that the round of 16 is locked in, we have, I'll just go through 1 through 16. We have Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, and Austin Dillon in the round of 16. Fellas, who do you think doesn't make it to the round of 12? We'll do this.
My first 4 out. Austin Dillon.
Okay.
This wasn't as easy as you would think.
I had a tough one with this.
Austin Dillon was the easiest for me. Again, no offense, but it was. And then Bowman I have out. Cindric and Briscoe I've knocked out of the round of 16.
All right, so mine are similar, except for one. I'm going to swap some out. I have Briscoe out, Austin Cindric out. I have Bowman out. I actually have Austin Dillon making it to the next round. I have William Byron not making out of the first round.
Okay.
He's been awful, god awful.
Yeah.
And the races he won was Atlanta. We're not going to do anything crazy like those races. And Martinsville, which is in the last round, which he's not even going to come close to making that. So everywhere else, he just kind of straight up struggled. So I went with Slick Willie 2 clocks. Wow, what a shocker.
Yeah.
Not making it out of round 1. And Briscoe, AC, and Bowman.
So I have very similar to you. I knocked Austin Dillon out, although he is a good pick to go to the round of 12. Last time he made the playoffs, he finished 11th in the point standings. So he did make it out of the round of 16. But I have Austin Dillon going out. I have Alex Bowman going out. Sorry, Justin. Just super inconsistent recently.
Yeah.
I have Chase Briscoe going out. He's been so inconsistent since his win way early on in the season. I feel like he's going to need a miracle. And then I'm with you, Eric. I have William Byron going out. I know he's sitting in 5th place in points right now, but man, he has not shown me a lot over the last 2 months. Him and Bowman just struggling with the bad luck, getting caught up in wrecks, all sorts of stuff going on. So I don't think those 4 guys, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, and William Byron, make it out of the round of 16. How about?
And then I got the round of 12 again. I mean, it just gets harder and harder and harder. You got to eliminate someone though, right? So, and this Chastain, I have getting knocked out, and I think that's just because of the rest of this, not out of performance, because obviously he's got the speed to make it to the final four. I just think that people are going to keep him out of the round of 8. That's the only reason I don't have Chastain advancing. And then I have William Byron for all the reasons that you guys just mentioned. Ryan Blaney, just not being able to finish races, I think is going to come bite him in the ass when it's down to 12 people. And then Kyle Busch, again, lucky to win the only race he's won this year. I think it's finally going to catch up to him.
Yeah, I have, in that second round, we have Texas, Dega, and the Roval. That road course, that's going to fuck the Toyotas over big time. We know how bad they were at road courses. That's not a great race if you're down in points and you need to get in. Dega, guess what? Another crapshoot. We could have another race like we saw at Daytona where a lot of those guys, you're done for. So leading into the Roval, you have that. Toyota, not looking good. So I actually have Kyle Busch out. Christopher Bell out. I have Austin Dillon out. And surprise, I have Kyle Larson out.
Okay.
He's something about him.
I can't argue
been there, but
yeah,
something about him just not the same. He doesn't have that fire.
All right, I'm kind of on the same page. So I had Austin Cindric making it out of the round of 16. I don't think he makes it out of the round of 12, although Dega does seem promising for him because he is a good super speedway racer, obviously. I have Daniel Suarez going out of the round of 12, and I agree. I think Kyle Busch is out in the round of 12. Just not a whole lot. What have you shown me lately? And then this one, it was tough for the round of 12. I'm like, man, because I was thinking Kyle Larson, but I went with Kevin Harvick. I don't think Kevin Harvick makes it out of the round of 12. I think maybe we saw a nice flash for 2 races, and I don't know how far that's going to carry him. Although he was super consistent with top 10s, but as we know from previous playoffs, top 10s do not guarantee you into the next round. You really got to step it up, and you got to be perfect all playoff long. So, yeah, I have Harvick, Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez, and Austin Cindric out of the round of 12.
Yeah, so we that leads us into the round of 8, and then again my 4 out, and it was so hard. I actually just now almost flipped 2 guys, and I think I'm going to. I'm going to flip 2 guys that I have 1 in, 1 out. And Whitey, you're gonna like what you hear.
All right.
So I have Suarez out. I have Bell out. I have Harvick out. I had Reddick out and Larson advancing. But you're right. Larson just doesn't seem like he's there. And there's something about that 8 car at Miami ripping the top that I can see him winning that race and advancing. For that reason, I'm going to flip those guys, Larson out, Reddick in.
Well, I'll let you know what Tyler Reddick said. He doesn't know if he can rip the fence in the new car. He doesn't know how it's going to handle in Homestead.
That would have been good to know 35 seconds ago.
But no, I agree, man. Well, I'll let you know. But Eric, what's your round of 8 looking like?
All right, so my round of 8, I have Chastain and Denny Hamlin out because I think they fuck each other over in the round of 8. I think Denny, he gets in his head, okay, do I do it? Do I don't do it?
Yeah.
He's going to have an opportunity to do it. And I think he takes that, and I think he fucks himself over. But not only that, Chastain is out because of Denny. But I also think Denny's pit crew has been fucking horrible all year long. Denny should actually have 3 more wins, and that would have validated his finishes and his season.
Yeah.
And his pit crew screwed him. So I can't trust his pit crew going forward. When you need to get it done, I don't want that pit crew. So I have Denny Hamlin out. I also have Kevin Harvick out, and I have Tyler Reddick out.
All right.
So wait.
Yeah. Dog Whitey. What's your round of 8?
All right. I'll give you my round.
Wait a second. You have someone in the final 4.
Up.
All right. Hold on. We'll go
okay.
we'll go over our final
Okay.
fours before we name our champions. But the Denny pit crew reminded me of a stat. Just want to throw it out there because I sent it to you guys right before the show. You remember a couple of weeks ago, Bubba Wallace and Christopher Bell changed pit crews?
Yes.
It came out 18 races before the pit crew swap. Bubba's average start 20.78, his average finish 22. The 8 races after the swap, his average start 15.89, his average finish 11.34.
That's a big jump.
That just goes to show you NASCAR is a team sport. My round of 8. I think you'll be surprised on who I have getting knocked out.
Not more surprised than Eric.
I have Ross Chastain. He's out. Kyle Larson out. In fact, I kind of agree with you guys. He might not make it out of the round of 12. Ryan Blaney, I think he's out. He started this season so strong, and I feel like he's just been underperforming the last handful of races or so. And then I'm knocking Tyler Reddick out. I don't think he makes it to the round of 4. I hope he does, but I think he's out in the round of 8. So to recap, my round of 4 drivers will be Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, and my wild card is Christopher Bell. I have a feeling about C. Bell. I think there's going to be a wild card guy, and I think he could be it. How about you, Matt? What is your round of 4 overall?
My round of 4 is Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick, and Denny Hamlin.
How about you, Eric? What's that round of 4?
My round of 4.
Wait until you hear this last name.
Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney. He's 3rd overall for a reason. Consistent. I think he knows how to get his way through.
Yeah.
And my 4th in the playoff.
There it is.
Mi amigo, Daniel Suarez. He just has something in my gut, my intuition that just tells me. I look back at all of my race notes, the winners, and the top 5. Everyone I talked about him. His name came up so often at different style racetracks too. He's good on the road course. He's good on the short tracks. He's good on the super speedways. I just think he has that it factor, and I think Ross Chastain, I think he takes all the pressure off of that 99, and I think Daniel Suarez has an opportunity to make the Final 4 based on being non-talked about, just calm, cool, collected,
real
possibly
quiet,
make his way in. Due to what has happened most often this year, which is other people ruining their days and him taking advantage of someone else's shitty circumstances. So I'm taking a gamble. My intuition, I picked his first win when I felt it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm just feeling I'm feeling him having some good racing going forward, and just that luck is on mi amigo's side.
I think it's super interesting. Definitely a wild card. I'm here for it. I hope we have it happen. I think that'd be great. Right now he is sitting 13th in points, and he is on the cut line -2 versus Chase Briscoe, who is +2. Of course, these are intro playoff points. Should be exciting to see. All right. Well, now who do we think is going to be the championship winner? I struggled, man.
So did I.
I
struggled internally because
I don't want it to happen.
Well, I almost went that route. I know who
Yeah.
you're talking about, and I know who you picked, and I almost went that route. So ultimately, Elliott, Logano, Reddick, and Hamlin in my Final 4. I narrowed it down to 2 guys, Elliott and Logano. Elliott has won this race before. Logano is just so freaking sneaky good, and that's why I have him in my Final 4, is because he's just so under the radar.
He knows how to work the playoffs.
He really does, man. He just knows how to work each round, and he just does enough in each round to just keep advancing. I swear to God, this is not a homer pick. I just really like the momentum that 9 car has had this entire season. He has been the most consistent car, the best car. Chase Elliott gets his 2nd championship in the last 3 years.
All right, Eric, who are you picking for your championship winner?
Hey, Matt, it came down to 2 drivers, which I was like, man, I could really, really see this going down. And I think I kind of going more in my head. I'm thinking storyline and how sometimes they do come true, where it makes it seem like, oh, the conspiracy guys want to put all their tinfoil hats on because how did this happen? Or, this guy made it here. What do you like? How did it just work out that way? It almost works out too perfect. And that was between Chase Elliott and one of his best friends in the world, and that's Ryan Blaney. I think those two being friends adds to the element of them battling against one another in the Final Four. I think, Blaney, the story of him almost not making it to the playoffs to then making the Final Four is going to be a great story. And, you have to go with the hot hand, though, too. All year, never really slipped up, performing when he needs to perform, versatile at every racetrack, and probably the calmest, coolest driver out there is Chase Elliott, and there's no denying that. So I'm going to go with 9, Chase Elliott to take back that throne off of Kyle Larson there at Hendrick Motorsports.
And I
this is where Shrey, I know you're an avid listener of ours. Pause right here and listen to this part with your wife.
Yeah, I struggle with this pick, man. But something was just telling me Joey Logano knows how to work those playoffs. And they know how to get a good car for Phoenix. Here's the thing. I think Joey Logano wins the championship this year. I think he does it real quietly. I'm going to make an even bolder prediction. With the way this whole season's been shaking out so far, I think this is the first season since the playoffs and the chase started that the winner in Phoenix is not the champion. I think we get an outside of the playoffs winner.
Dude, good call.
And
good call.
And
yeah.
I think Joey Logano gets the win in the end from points. I think that's how it's going to shake out. Of course, we have how many more races? 10 more races to see. It's going to be an exciting one. I'm excited for this Sunday at Darlington. And before we go, of course, we got to give you our picks for the weekend. Matt, do you have those lines from DraftKings?
I do.
To go over our Daytona picks, I picked Chris Buescher to win. He got me 10 points. He was, of course, caught up in that big old wreck. Matt chose Ryan Blaney. He got you 22 points. He still finished. His car did not look nice. He was a couple laps down, but he still finished. And Eric, you picked Joey Logano to win. He got you 42 points. A nice points day out of Joey Logano. But that means I pick first, Matt picks second, and Eric picks third for Darlington. Matt, give us those stats we need to make an educated guess before practice.
Top 10 favorites from 10 through 1, according to DraftKings, for to win Darlington here is William Byron at plus 1,800, Ryan Blaney at plus 1,600, Martin Truex Jr., the only non-playoff driver that you'll hear me say here, plus 1,100, along with Ross Chastain, also plus 1,100. Joey Logano and Kyle Busch, both plus 900. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, both plus 700. Kyle Larson, plus 600. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a two-way tie for the favorite to win this race, according to DraftKings right now. It's Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin, both plus 600 to win this race.
I think that there's only one man in the field that loves the lady in black more than Denny Hamlin. And that's the winner from earlier on this season. One Joseph Logano. I think he gets it done, builds up some playoff points, and this is his road to the championship for starting this week in Darlington.
Well, that stinks. That completely threw me off.
I'm sorry.
You know what? It didn't. because I'm going with someone who in the past 7 races at Darlington has 2 wins. He's got 6 top 5s in the past 7 races at Darlington. Anyone know who I'm talking about? The lowest finish he's had is 6th. If you can't tell that I'm reading stats right now,
is it one Martin Truex Jr.?
Nope. I am going with, I'm going to pull this fan base back into me. I ripped him earlier. He was my wreckers, but he wins the first race of the playoffs. Kevin Harvick, you're moving on to the round of 12, buddy. We all took each other's picks.
You, dude. Like that was my mentality when I was doing like my bracket. I'm like, Harvick's going to win Darlington because he's getting hot. All of his old track shit, he's getting his groove with this new car.
Yep.
What better than an old veteran to win Darlington? I'm like, no one else is going to pick Harvick. I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, son of a bitch, Matt. Great pick, but you threw me off here. Yep. So I gotta buckle down here. And like Whitey said, maybe not every race is going to be one of these playoff guys too. So, damn, you had me there. Damn it.
Hey, hurry up. I have to take the recycling out. No, but really, I just remembered I have to take the recycling out.
You
know what? Oh, this is the game on the line here too.
I don't know, man. You pulled a nice 20-point lead on Matt in the full
and you've got a guy sitting there that I almost took. Whitey said it. He loves the lady in black.
Can I tell you?
No, I know, but I just I can't stand looking at him.
I'll turn off my camera.
I'm going with Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson. All right. We'll see if Larson can do it. Can I just tell you, I was originally going to pick Denny Hamlin, and I just said my phrasing wrong. And I was like, oh, think quick, Joey Logano. threw everything off for you guys.
No, you got your promo wrong, and then you picked the wrong guy.
I did. But I did want to pick a veteran. I think a veteran's going to win, so I'm going with Joey Logano. Matt's going with Kevin Harvick, and Eric is going with Kyle Larson. We're skipping the head-to-heads this week. It's getting late. Matt's got to take the recycling out, and we got a nice long weekend to look forward to. This Sunday, 6 p.m. night race, Cookout, Southern 500 on USA, Labor Day weekend. Can Joey Logano build up some more playoff points to get to the round of 4? Will Kevin Harvick win again?
He won the first Darlington.
He did. Will Kevin Harvick keep the momentum going he had a couple weeks ago and build some playoff points and maybe get out of the round of 12? I have him going out in the round of 12, so we'll see what happens. Or will Kyle Larson, the hot shoot from last year, get some of that speed back and start rattling off the wins as we get to the playoffs? He's the defending series champion. Can he run for another championship? We will see. It's going to be an exciting couple weeks, and we'll break it down for you every Monday night right here on the Bump and Run podcast. But because it is a long weekend, we will probably do the show on Tuesday. So make sure you check all the social media channels, Bump the Letter and Run Pod for updates. YouTube, subscribe. Make sure you hit subscribe or follow on Amazon, iTunes, wherever. That way you don't miss a show, even if we do run a little late. And we will talk to you next time. Have a good night.
The Bump and Run.
There it is.